Hello everyone, this is Babamot. Welcome to another Homeworlds game review. This is a game between Fork of Nature and DodoBirby. This is from the 2022 tournament. At this point, each of these players had one win going into round 3, so a little below the midpoint. Fork of Nature had not played before June this year, I believe. DodoBirby, on the other hand, has been playing in my tournaments since 2018. So DodoBirby is the more experienced player, but I believe Fork of Nature is doing pretty well in the standings in ELO ranking. So could be a pretty even game. I think based on experience, I would guess that DodoBirby has the advantage here. Fork of Nature going first. All right, we've got blue-red banker, red-green Goldilocks. Interesting. I don't like green stars. I don't like green home stars at all. Players often have lots of green ships. Which can make it easier to catastrophe that star. Anyway, I just don't do well with green stars. I had a game that I struggled in more than I expected to when my opponent took out my green star. I'd taken a green star to deliberately handicap myself, and it actually turned against me as I expected it to. All right, so they both build. Unsurprising. Oh, interesting. Fork of Nature going directly to the blue. I think that makes good sense. Since Fork of Nature had that small blue star, the blue economy has accelerated, and DodoBirby has a blue ship to start with, so they'll eat up the blues quickly. I think trading the large for a blue is not crazy. I usually prefer. Now thinking about the small red, I usually prefer to trade my my smaller ship for the color of the economy I want to get into, so that I have that large green available to sacrifice later. So they've considered a few different things here. Even considering just pushing on with the greens. I think that's probably not the right play, since DodoBirby can now lock up the last small blue, and they do. Fork of Nature will probably trade for yellow here, or they could trade their large for a blue to make the medium blues available for building to them as well. Traded for the yellow. Yep, they stick with it. Let's see what DodoBirby picks. Also getting into the yellow, putting a blue back in the bank. So Fork of Nature could trade that small green for a blue if they wanted to. No, they went for the red. Red is also accelerated by the small red star in DodoBird's home. No? Reconsidering? Going for the blue like I was thinking. No? Trying again? Ah, they're like me. They retry the same thing several times before they commit to it. All right, well, let's try to advance a few more times until that token goes across. Or build small yellow. Yeah, their Fork of Nature is demonstrating that there are lots of pretty good moves here. All right, I think that was the first thing they tried to do, and they eventually stuck with it, trading the small green for small blue. All right, I expect DodoBirby to take a medium blue. Oh no, they're moving out. They commit to it. If it were me, and I sometimes I regret this, but I usually build medium ships as soon as they're available, and though sometimes that leaves me with ships stuck at my home that I wish were farther out into the field. So maybe this is better. Fork of Nature building immediately. That's more like what I would usually do. DodoBirby can build now. Oh, that's interesting. They're not building it in the colony. I would have built it in the colony for sure. Having larger ships closer to your opponent and defending your colony is usually preferable, I think. All right. Fork of Nature moving out to a large yellow. Interestingly, they won't be able to build there. Oh, no, changed their minds. Went with a green. They'll be able to build more ships if they continue competing for the blues, which I think they're likely to do. Now, DodoBirby probably won't want to build blue again right now, since that opens up the large. Well, though, if DodoBirby builds the medium blue, Fork builds the large blue, Dodo builds the other large blue, that comes out about even. So they might not mind. Okay, trading for a large yellow. That's interesting. Putting even more blue larges in the bank. That means having a blue advantage is even going to be more powerful here. Neither one rushing into a bigger blue advantage here. I'm a little surprised that Fork didn't sacrifice the green 3 to build 3 blues, even though DodoBirb would be able to move a blue to Fork's home for the blue catastrophe. Fork would still have a large ship in Bleb that they could move back to their home. They'd be down a home star, but they'd be up a large, which is often worth it at this point in the game, I think. All right, spreading out their yellows. Yeah, Dodo's got a good head start in building yellows. Has 2 of them and has them spread out. Okay, Fork looking at moving that little blue to a yellow. I don't see what that does for him, other than, unless there's somewhere else that he'd actually like this to be at a star of a different size. Planning to move it right out on their next turn, maybe. All right, let's see what Dodo does. Okay, takes that medium. Interesting. All right, that opens up the larges for Fork. They could build just 1 in Bleb, in which case Dodo can build 1 in their home. Things are pretty even. Or, well, but then after that, Fork gets to build the last large by sacrificing the little green. Yeah, I don't think that was a good time for Dodo to open up the larges. Okay, Fork, looking at building all of the blues. I don't think that's great. After this, if Dodo just moves another blue into Samori for the catastrophe, Fork is left at with about the same amount of material as they had before, I suppose. Let's see, they come down by a small, and so does Dodo. They each lose a small compared to the turn before. But Fork now doesn't have a large green anymore, and they're going to want to get this large ship back to their home before too long, presumably. Which might be trouble. Okay, I don't care for that move. No, and they didn't like it either. Well, maybe. They were going to do something very similar. Okay, just changing where the... I like this even less, because now if Dodo decides to catastrophe these blues, Fork will be losing a medium in addition to 2 larges instead of a small in addition to 2 larges. Although this position has the advantage of making it possible to move their large blue directly back to their home, whereas if they were left with their only large ship being in Bleb, they couldn't move it without a sacrifice of the yellow. I don't like this either, though. I think they should just build a large blue in Bleb without any other shenanigans here. Okay, that's all right. Taking 2 of the larges and getting a small green as well. They Fork sacrificed 1 large to get 2 larges. They come up 1 large, but they limit the number of larges in the bank. I don't think they needed to worry about that last large, though, because Fork was in a better position to build that last large than Dodo was. I think Fork could have come out ahead by 2 larges instead of 1. Or rather... Oh, interesting. Okay, Dodo... Okay, if I want to say anything else about that old position, I should say it before things get spicy. I think so. The obvious thing here to me is that Dodo just builds that last large blue in their home, and they have the same number of larges. If Fork had not sacrificed their large green to do this building, I think they would have come out ahead by a large ship over Dodo. All right, but let's see what actually happens. Yeah, I think that's the right move for Dodo, just building that large. Let's see what Fork picks now. Okay, reinforcing their home. I think that's a good idea. Since Dodo is now within with a large yellow here, they are always within striking distance of Fork's home. They can sacrifice that large yellow to move the large blue to Fork's home anytime they feel like. Fork, though, reconsidering. Maybe they think it's not too urgent to reinforce their home. I think it is, though. Trading for the little yellow. I don't care for that. I think if they do that, DodoBird is just going to invade. Same if they just build a little green there. They're as indecisive as me. Although, okay, this is a little more interesting. If they trade for a large yellow, DodoBird can invade Fork's home, but Fork can counter-invade, sacrificing the large yellow to move their large blue to Dodo's home, where Dodo will no longer have a large. Fork has more ships, so it will take Dodo longer to capture all of Fork's ships than it would take Fork to capture all of Dodo's ships. So this threat of a counterattack may be enough to justify not reinforcing Fork's home with a large ship right now. So they changed their mind and then redid it and redid it again. Okay, the more modest play of just trading for a medium yellow, I think that's all right too. That still has the threat of the counterattack. Okay, and they finally committed to this one. I like this the best, I think, because if it both should prevent Dodo from attacking and puts a large blue back in the bank that Fork can build if DodoBird doesn't do anything about it. It's not hard for DodoBird to discover that ship as a star or to trade. Oh, they're okay. Sacrificing the Y3. This I did not expect. No, I don't think this works. Maybe they decided it didn't work too. Interesting. Okay, so they're blocking the B3 build by trading a B2. All right. Yeah, that's fine. All right. Let's see what Fork picks. They're going to go ahead and build that. Ooh. They're building that B2. I don't like that. That just gives DodoBird the chance to build the B3. Yeah, they changed their mind. Okay. Moving a B2 into Alti. Maybe hoping to set up an overpopulation, but it's very easy for DodoBird to just trade for a red or move one of these away, so I don't think that's very effective. They changed their mind too. All right, moving that blue into a new system connected to Dodo's home. That gives Fork another place that they can build, which is nice. Not too urgent though. I don't think that's what I would do, but I don't see any big problems with it either. Okay, thinking about a small green colony or trading for a small yellow or trading for a small red. I like that pretty well. Getting into red seems nice. Trading for a large red, that's more exciting. Putting more large blues in the bank means somebody will probably break through and try to get those again soon. Trying to get through all these places where they changed their mind. Thinking about a large green. Sure, that's fine too. Building a little yellow. Yeah, that's all right. I don't see any real monstrously poor decisions up till now. I don't like that very much. Building the last B2. Let's DodoBird build the last B3. Change their mind on that too. Or they could build a little yellow. They've tried that a couple of times. They've tried that a couple of times. All right, Fork, you're making it less likely that I'll review your games in the future if you if you experiment too much. Okay. All right. They finally committed to something. All right. They moved the little blue ship to a small green star. All right. So that has the advantage of giving them enough place to build blue. Blue's a hot color right now, and it opens up the medium greens. And Dodo doesn't have any greens to build, so that's good for Fork too. All right. And what does DodoBirb do? Dodo sacrifices a Y2 from their home, possibly to move the B2 to Fork's home. That's a pretty big threat. No, they changed their mind. Or maybe they're sticking with it. No? Yeah, they're sticking with that. Okay. So, this is a bit of a problem. So Fork didn't reinforce their home, and Dodo worked around to a way to invade Fork's home with a medium ship without losing the large defense in their own home. Fork, I think, has got to reinforce with a larger ship, and it's always sticky to have an enemy ship in your home that you can't displace. Dodo can capture, I think, what should they take? They take a green? Take a green or a yellow? Maybe trade it for another color? No, I don't. I'm not sure this actually does as much as Dodo wanted. You know, they could trade it for yellow, threatening to overpopulate Fork's large yellow here. Let's see what they pick. Oh, that is what they're looking at. Interesting. Okay. But it is easy enough for Fork to just move one of their small yellows out. Well, I mean, they're the only small yellow they have out. Interesting. Okay, well, Fork is looking at not responding, just building a B2. I guess it could be worse, but I'm concerned that Dodo will sacrifice Y3 to move in another yellow. I get, you know, that hurts Dodo more than it hurts Fork, so maybe Fork doesn't actually need to be too worried about that. What are they doing? Moving out a yellow. Okay. Well, but as we know, they may change their mind a few more times. I think this is probably the best, because Dodo can't catastrophe those yellows without losing 2 ships, and Fork will then be up in material substantially. Dodo would only be left with 2 ships on the entire board, and Fork would still have 5. So I think Fork should just capture that yellow and not worry about the consequences. Considering an R2, no, I don't like that as well. Just capture the yellow. Yes. Okay, that I think is the right move. All right, Dodo, I think your attack did not work out. I'm sorry. But I think you'll have to find something else to do. I'm not sure what they should do. They could try building blues, but Fork is equally well equipped to build blue. They could push their yellow forward to threaten the overpopulation, but Fork can move out of it very easily. Oh, they're gonna... I don't like this, actually. Not much I don't. Okay, they sacrificed their large yellow to destroy all those yellows, but in that whole exchange in Fork's home, Dodo lost a lot more than Fork did. I think that was probably a fatal mistake. Yeah, Fork just needs to decide where to build. Dodo needs to decide where to build. I guess they could trade for another color, but I don't recommend it. No. Well, could be worse, I suppose. But by putting another B3 in the bank, I think that's material that Fork is a lot more likely to get to build than Dodo is. So I don't care for that. I think Dodo is getting ready to retreat. Consolidate their ships into their home. Which I think is probably their best option, but it's not looking good. All right. Fork is looking at, well, a few different things. Okay. They decided to trade for a yellow as well. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good option. If Dodo had started to try to build more and more of the, well, oh, they're both equipped to build yellow and blue, but only Fork can build green. Dodo now, the one with a little bit of indecision. Sticking with the blue build, I think that's all right since that doesn't open up a new size for Fork. Fork looking at invading Alti. Fork doesn't have any red though, so that's not really a threat. Although it does put a blue one step from Dodo's home, so Dodo can't build another blue right this minute. They'll have to trade one of their ships or move it away. Okay, trading for the large yellow. Okay. When in doubt, getting more yellow I think is a pretty good policy. Fork maybe thinking about... Okay, they were thinking about trying to clean up the rest of the greens, but now trading for a red. So that little yellow will have to run away. No? All right, I'm just going to keep clicking until we get to the decision. Okay. Fork, I don't think, has any particularly bad moves here. They've got lots of good options. Okay, they stuck with building the G2, which I think is pretty good. Building B1, yeah, DodoBirby's got to... They've got to build. They got to build something. And even though it's something that Fork can participate in too, although the blue might be less good than yellow right now, since Fork, if by building this B1, well, they changed their mind. I need to stop clicking before I finish discussing the position. Okay. By building the B1, DodoBirby was opening up the B2, and Fork could sacrifice the G2 to build both B2 and B3 safely, and DodoBirby would not be able to build the B3 at their home for fear of catastrophe. So building the B1 I think is not great. I think they should build yellow someplace. At home, yep. That's better than here, since that's better than in their colony, since if Fork gets red, 2 ships are harder to run away than 1. Okay, Dodo getting, well, again, exploring a few different options. Interesting. Trading for yellow. It's now safer for Dodo. Well, Dodo can't build yellow anywhere safely anymore, but they can build blue. But in building blue, Dodo opens up B2 for Fork to build. We'll see. All right, Dodo does in fact build B2. Fork looking at sacrificing the G2. Interesting, to build Y2 and B2. Okay. Well, it's... I think Fork's still pretty much got this in the bag. Although not entirely. Dodo builds a Y2. I don't think they should be trying to catastrophe this Y2. It'll cost Dodo more than it costs Fork. And when Dodo's already behind in material, I think they are still, aren't they? Yeah, by a couple of medium ships. I don't think they should be making disadvantageous material trades. No, I think it always looks bad when you build a large ship to catastrophe other ships. It seems like you're losing a large, but you're not really losing a large. If you just ignore the fact that a large got built in between, if you think about Fork's position as trading a medium to destroy a medium and a small for your opponent, that seems like a good trade. Just forget about the large build in between. Okay, well, so now they're looking at threatening to overpopulate Dodo's only large ship, which is fine. But Dodo will just run away, I'm sure, or trade, possibly. Okay, Fork. Looking at the catastrophe again, looking at trading for the yellow, looking at a sacrifice trade. That would be pretty wild. Looking at just building B2, looking at trading for G3, looking at that catastrophe again. Okay, yeah, they went with the catastrophe. I think that is a good move. DodoBirby has only 4 ships, all in one system. Dodo is far behind. And I'm interested in anybody's thoughts on resigning before the end of the game. No offense to Dodo for wanting to play this out. I think that's perfectly fine. In chess, in really strong chess games, it's typical for a player to resign when they think the game is lost. And in backgammon, they even have the doubling cube so that you can put extra pressure on your opponent to resign, where you say, okay, if you don't resign right now, I've turned over the doubling cube, so this game is now worth double the points or double the money that it was if you don't resign right this minute, because otherwise backgammon games can take a long time, even when the game has an obvious outcome. Anyway, so I'm interested in any thoughts on whether we should be trying to cultivate a culture where we resign in Homeworlds. Fork thinking about getting red. I think somebody ought to get red at some point here. All right, they traded for green. Yeah, I think that's a good move. Fork now has 2 places where they can build green. Dodo isn't going to want to get into the green economy, I don't think, since they've got a green home star, which is often a liability, as I may have mentioned. Dodo with a little indecision, building a B2 there in their colony. Yeah, that's good to defend the colony. They'll need a red to back that up, although they're still pretty far behind. Okay, Fork building that G2. Unsurprisingly, they've now got they can build a G3 on their next turn, unless DodoBirby discovers a G3 star, or I suppose they could trade for their Y3 for G3, but that's just asking for trouble when you have your only large matching one of your home stars. And Fork builds the G3. Come on, we know you're going to do it. What? Really? Interesting. I guess they decided that they can build the G3 anytime they want, but now was the time to get more involved in blue to prevent Dodo from getting anywhere with that. Fork has passed up an opportunity to get any red when Dodo has red. Dodo might want to consider sacrificing a little yellow to move the red into bleb, maybe? Put on a little pressure. Every ship is so precious for Dodo right now, though they probably can't actually spare it. They're thinking about it though. Yep, they commit to it. Um, but it costs Fork just the same amount, a small yellow sacrifice to get out. And when you're down in material, equal material exchanges are usually not to your advantage. Dodo now, they can build. I think I'd build a yellow. Building red, that's all right too. Fork doesn't have any red, so getting ahead on red is good. Of course, they don't. These are Gilligans. Those ships in Bleb can't go anywhere. And now Fork's got red. Well, they're thinking about getting red. They decided to get red. And so things just got even more dangerous for Dodo. Yeah, so since Fork put a B2 back in the bank, it's safe for Dodo to build blue again. Okay, Fork finally takes that G3. Dodo building the little yellow. Dodo actually has more yellow than Fork does right now, so maybe this will turn out good. Fork doing a factory for red. Maybe. Okay, the graphics glitching just a little bit. Let's see. They sacrificed the G3 and built G3, looking at another factory. Yellow factory, I think that is pretty good. Dodo can't build another yellow right this minute. They could trade blue for yellow in their colony. Okay, more indecision. Let's just fast forward until we find out what they actually do. Oh gee, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Fork just nakedly moved their red into Dodo's colony. Dodo can sacrifice little red to capture the R2, and then Dodo will have a pretty little red advantage with 2 red ships in 2 different systems for building more. Oh, they were thinking about running away? No. Yeah, to absolutely capture that. Okay, that was a pretty big mistake on Fork's part. I don't think that's big enough to really let Dodo back into the game, but that was interesting. Okay, Fork looking at another factory. Building more blue. Trading for red. Factory blue again. Alright, let's keep going till the token passes. Alright, what did they end up with? They ended up with a factory to get a bunch of blue. Oh, interesting. So this now will give Dodo a chance to build a B3. I think they should take that. Fork can invade the colony here in Elrop, but I think for a second large ship when you're down 2 larges at the moment, it's absolutely worth it. Yep. All right, let's see what Fork comes up with. I bet they get some red because they don't want this this colony looking so happy. No, looking at getting yellow, putting a blue back in the bank. All right, here we go. Fast forwarding again. So this is the type of game where I think it might have been worth it to load the replay into the Homeworlds live sandbox to take out all of these restarts. But this is interesting about Fork of Nature's style. Okay, what did they decide in the end? Sacrificed a blue 2. I always try to avoid blue sacrifices if I can, but sometimes it's really good for manipulating the bank. Okay, sacrificed blue 2 to trade for an R3 and a Y2. Okay, you just glancing at this, you can see there's more color diversity on the board. Yeah, they're into the red now. They've still got pretty much a death grip on the greens. Oh, if I were Dodo, I would consider trading this blue for a green, threatening to win if Fork doesn't do something about having nothing but 3 greens in their home. Yeah, it also brings, in rather weak fashion, but at least Dodo has a green ship now. So this, um, not knowing too much about the strength of Fork of Nature's play, Fork might fail to notice that they are a move from death. They could get bluebirded. Factory. Okay. Okay, the tension is rising because if they do a factory build, and the fact that they're considering factory builds indicates to me that they are not aware of this problem. Fork might be throwing the game here. But the tension is high because I don't know how many times they're going to restart their turn before they decide what they're going to do. Oh gee. Fork could lose this. Oh no! Oh, okay, no. All right. Whew. All right. Well, in the end they sacrificed a G1. They finally noticed. And then rebuilt that G1 in Samori. Okay, so they did notice. All right. Well, that was very exciting. So they managed to not by green teleporting. Fork didn't lose any material. They kept all the greens out of the bank, and they kept themselves out of a bluebird situation. It rather could have been a very embarrassing loss. All right, Dodo now could lose the entire Europ colony if Fork decides to start moving in with green. But I don't know what they ought to do about it. They maybe should move, say, their Y3 into Europ to reinforce, and so that their G2 can leave comfortably if needed. Looking at trading B1 for red, I don't like that. Not much I don't. Well, I do think Dodo would be wise to start getting the small reds out of the bank, since Dodo actually has the red advantage. The advantage in red and really no other color here. Maybe arguably yellow, since if Fork builds another yellow in one of the two places where they could, they're asking for a catastrophe. Asking for a catastrophe, and but making that red makes these guys Gilligans. At least with a blue, they can trade for other colors if they want to. A little red, I think that's pretty good. And now if Fork were to invade with the obvious choice of larges, the large red, then Dodo could build again for a catastrophe. This is not bad, and it would take a yellow sacrifice or 2 turns for Fork to invade Bleb with a red of another color. Okay, Fork looking at a factory again, building yellow and yellow. Interesting. Well, as if. Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's the spicy. I was afraid of that. Oh, no, they changed their mind. All right, well. Okay, so I think sacrificing the Y2 to catastrophe the whole Europ colony is just fine. Invading with the B3 is also not too bad, but Dodo can defend with a G2 sacrifice, build 2 blues to catastrophe the large blue. Material-wise, I think that's slightly advantageous for Dodo, but Dodo is behind in material, and as the material dwindles, I think the Fork's material advantage will become more relevant. So I think that's actually not probably a good move. Okay, considering yellow factory again. Factory build for the yellows again. Oh, oh my, what did they end up with? They chose sacrifice Y2 to move their green 3 from home all the way to the Europ colony. Well, that's interesting. I don't care for that much offhand. Dodo can invade Fork's home in a couple of different ways. I think that might be a loss. I think Dodo should sacrifice Y3 to move their blue 3 to Fork's home. Fork can reinforce with greens or blue, but whatever they reinforce with, Dodo has more red power and can capture whatever Fork reinforces with. If Fork tries to counterattack, Dodo will still have the first opportunity to do capturing and will win in that scenario. I think Dodo counterattacks. I think Dodo goes in all in right now. They sacrifice the Y3. I think they see it. Okay. Little graphical glitch there. Sorry about that. But I think that is the right move. Oh gosh. I thought all right, well, so one of the reasons to not resign early is that even when you have won a game of Homeworlds, it can be difficult to finish off the game. Yeah, I think Dodo wins here. Fork of Nature is looking at trying to reinforce, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And they may restart many times looking for a way. Nope, nope. That's not going to do it. Dodo captures the large blue and the medium green. Fork can reinforce with a little green, but that doesn't help. In fact, Dodo can win this turn by sacrificing the medium green to green teleport for the catastrophe. Oh, or they still had a medium red. Yep, they just captured all. Wow. Okay, well, shows what I know. I was wrong to call the game for Fork earlier. This is a really easy game to mess up, and not. We see the danger of not keeping a large in your home at all times. I think this was pretty darn educational. That was very exciting several times. Well, gosh. Thanks you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.